Cunningham.
Here.
Whitworth.
Here.
Reinig.
Here.
Hollenbeck.
Here.
Kumbir.
Here.
McNally.
Here. Okay. We stand and recite the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Lisa, can you tell us if this meeting has been properly posted?
It has been posted in the upper and lower levels of the Amundsen Community Center, the Cambridge Post Office, Hometown Bank, and the village website.
All right, okay. Moving on to public appearances. I see one gentleman here. Are you here for something on the agenda or? Okay, you are, all right. Then we'll move on. Approval of the consent agenda. I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
A second.
All right. Any discussion necessary on the items? Okay, motion has been made and seconded to approve the consent agenda. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, consent agenda has passed. Okay, reports. I'll start off. The last week, since we met 1 week ago, I have spent all of my time on a matter that will be discussed later on in closed session. So I have nothing else to report at this time.
Okay.
All right. So, Plan Commission last night.
Yep, we had Plan Commission last night, and we talked about we were trying to come up with something new, some wording, so that we have like perpetual garage sale ordinances of some kind. So we heard some things from Lisa, and so the Planning Commission is all gonna, now that we've heard some things, come back with what we think we want to do. We also heard from the trail people, and they're going to change the trailhead just a little bit, and they're going to take down the garage that they have because they said it's starting to rot, and they're going to have to put up a new one, so they'll have to come in front of plan for a variance for that. And so they'll add 2 more parking spaces. Anything else we did last night? I can't think. I don't think so. Those two things. Okay.
All right. Okay, all right. Thank you, Kathy. Village office updates.
Barb especially has been working a lot with Ellers on the borrowing that's coming up, all the questionnaires and paperwork that has to be filled out prior to that. Working with Mary Bailing on getting a draft lease for carts for the room upstairs. Working with Town and Country on the sewer credit policy for the Dancing Goat Distillery. That will be for water and sewer. Next week, that's for the waste that is taken off site, so they're not being charged the sewer charge as it's not going down the system. Final agreement for the Melster site is in the packet or in the agenda. We'll be talking about that. Also working with Connie Anderson, which will be later. We did just receive the final draft or a draft of the audit. They have one more partner that reviews it at Baker Tilly. Will then be getting the draft out to audit finance members, looking at meeting before the meeting on September 10th. So audit finance will get more in depth, and then they will give a presentation to the board on September 10th. The recycling RFP is on the agenda tonight. A new state requirement that was just put in on the state budget is a video service provider report that we have to fill out for the state. Relates to the cable franchise fees we currently get. So Gary has helped us find paperwork from 40 years back that we need to submit to the state for that. So we're getting that done. The remodel, the punch list is complete. The phones have been ordered Phones and computers will be installed later this week, and the last of the furniture should be coming Thursday. So
Okay.
we're looking at the end of this week, getting stuff moved over there. So next week we would be starting to work, and then we'll gradually be going through stuff, bringing the rest of the stuff over.
Okay.
So
How's the punch list?
it's done.
Done.
Everything
Yep.
is
Yep.
signed off on?
Yep.
Okay. All right.
So next week we should be in there.
Okay, all right. Any questions for Lisa? Okay, moving on to bills. I think everybody has had a chance to look at these. We've got a first run of $29,799 and a second run of $25,368. What are we looking at for a total on this?
Is that up at the top right there underneath, up above our signatures?
Oh,
There you go.
55,168.29.
Make a motion to approve the bills in that amount.
A second.
All right. Any questions, discussion necessary on any of the bills? At Home Again Cambridge, that's just our payment to these folks?
Mhm.
Okay,
Twice a year, we
yeah,
have payment for our agreement with
Right.
them.
okay. All right. And then Joe Daniels is for the upstairs, 18,000.
Mhm.
And so how much is in retainage on that contract?
We were just talking about that. It's on the bill in there, I believe. I believe like 10,000.
All right, okay.
So,
It's usually 10% or something like
Yeah.
that. Okay.
yeah.
And then that gets released when?
There'll be one more draw upon, with the completion of the work now, so. And it's in there. We were just talking about it and I didn't have time
Well, they'll
to.
give you a final invoice, right?
Yeah,
So,
yeah,
and-
we'll get a final invoice that will run through the,
And we're going to hold that back until they've completed all of the work on the punch list?
and they have.
Okay,
they
so they're,
all signed
but you guys haven't moved in yet? So what don't we know about because you haven't moved in?
Yeah.
So I would just want to caution
Yes.
about us paying
There-
that final
One little
bill.
thing came up with the phones today,
Okay.
things not being capped off, and so we've been in contact with architects today, and
Okay.
so, yeah,
It's not Daniel, so.
so.
So I would
It's
just,
not all signed off on yet.
yeah, let's just hold back on that last bill
Yeah.
until after you guys, 'cause you find all sorts of stuff that move in that you didn't realize.
Obviously, we didn't know the electronics inside the wall,
Right,
Yep.
Yep.
wasn't on the punch list, so
right.
as the
Okay.
tech people were looking, they're like, these aren't capped off, and so there's been, go back and forth.
Excellent, thank you.
All right, we have a motion and a second for payment of bills in the amount of $55,168.29. Lisa, can you do a voice vote, please?
Roll call.
Roll call.
Roll call.
Cunningham,
Yes.
Whitwer,
Yes.
Breinig,
Yes.
Hollenbeck,
Yes.
Lumiere,
Yes.
Christensen,
Yes.
McNally.
Yes. All right, bills are paid. Moving on, new business, recycling RFP.
So in here is a draft of an RFP, the ad that would go out. Our contract is up with Advanced Disposal. We have sent them a letter saying we will be going out. I have been in contact with a number of companies, have expressed interest, and Rockdale is going out right now too. So for the two of us to go out at the same time
It's pretty good.
could be beneficial to both communities.
Sure.
So, pretty much the same as what we have now, trash once a week, recycling every other week. We did include in this one for people to have the option between two sizes for both trash and recycling. That's one thing we've heard a lot of feedback from.
What size is our trash today? Is that the
The large
96?
one is the 96.
Okay. And then is the recyclable one 65?
Most people have the large, the 95, but we
For-
want to give the option of both sizes for everyone.
So,
The recycling is how big
so
though?
he-
'Cause that's
here's the thing, I don't know how big 65 is, and I'm wondering if there's an even smaller one. I put out 1 bag of garbage a week.
a week.
Yeah.
So you don't clean your house or anything and throw some extra stuff away once in a while?
I recycle, Ted.
No, I see.
I don't use paper towels. I don't buy stuff. And if I do buy stuff, I try to make sure it has packaging that can be recycled. So,
Well, sometimes they have those containers that you can just set out there as well, whatever the options
It
they
is,
have, I mean.
it is the electronic arm though, so it can't be the small.
okay, but
But
go ahead.
I can see if there is a smaller option too.
I would love a smaller
Those are the
option.
2 standard sizes, but,
Okay.
I know where I'm at. Not everybody brings their garbage out weekly, especially in the winter months. Summer, yes, but you hit fall all the way through spring, and you go down like every 2 weeks, and then you need a bigger, because they got to cart it for a little bit. It's not right there.
So, we would have this going out, being in the paper next week, with the deadline of September 19th, with board action on September 24th, so.
Do we want to hear from Michael, who came to talk about, to address some questions about the RFP?
Sir, go ahead. I didn't realize you were here on that matter.
Yep, that's what he's here for.
Michael Rehak, 408 West Madison Street. We've lived there for over 20 years. I think it was about 5 or 6 years ago when the predecessor to Advanced had a contract and we got the new 95s and 65s. I raised issue with that at that time. I also would like a 35-gallon one. I know that Cottage Grove has a 35 option. There are some other communities that have that. Not only am I concerned for the invitation it has for people to just simply throw their recycles into the garbage, because the garbage is 95 and the recycle bin 65, but it's also dangerous. Our neighbor across the street is probably all of maybe 90 pounds, and she has a 95-gallon thing that has, a bag in it that she faithfully has to feel she should take out of her condo and out to the curb each week. If a wind comes along, that thing will turn into a kite, and she'll be gone with it. And she's in her probably late 80s. So I would like to personally see a 35-gallon option. I would think most people in condo units and in apartments especially, as well as some of us that are very conscientious about recycling and what we buy to begin with, would easily probably request a 35 as well. There's, yeah. And I would like to see, further, I would like to see an update from whoever does the recycling for us. Very clear definition of what they take and what they don't take, and what they actually recycle. I think we're aware that China doesn't take all our garbage anymore, all our recycles, and that some places in the country have cut way back on what they recycle. That doesn't mean they tell the people that, nor that they're clear about it, but a lot goes to the recycle and then on to the dump. So I think it would be appropriate for us to know as citizens as to what it is they really want us to recycle, and to know that what we do take the time to sort through and recycle gets recycled.
Is there any kind, maybe you know this, but is there a report that gets submitted to the state
Yes.
from
We do
the garbage
reports.
services,
We do
or?
reports every year for recycling. And I was just looking on here, it does have a recycled material collection list is one of the things requested in the submittal. every year, we do have to do a report with the state on our recycling, and they do have to give us a report on how much of what items have been recycled over the year.
I know I got one from you several years ago when I asked
what
for
they-
it. It's just a
Yeah.
sheet of paper, and
Yeah.
it said right on it exactly
Yeah.
what, and I just actually hung it by my recycle thing and said, "Here,
Right.
people."
How has that changed? And why doesn't that come out
Yeah.
every year for everyone?
Usually,
It used to come out with the,
With the calendar.
calendar. But if we,
Yeah.
if you put the calendar on one side and the recycle side on the other side to save paper, I applaud that. On the other hand, most people are going to look at one side or the other, or neither. So
yeah.
it has to be user-friendly.
In our RFP, page 19, item 3, under recycling requirements, it does say that they need to provide the name, location of the facilities of whatever contractors, brokers, or what are furnished, and then what they're doing with each one of those. So, they talk about, in our requirements, we're asking them that we know where they're sorting the material and what they're doing with it.
And that
Okay.
is all the information we need to file our annual.
So are the companies that you're looking at more local?
We will be putting the RFP out. Anyone can submit. We have had contact from a number of local that are locally owned. There is language in here, if a company is bought out, we do have the right to end the contract. That has happened with previous, where they're bought out by big companies.
Right.
And customer service isn't what we'd like it to be when that happens.
Well, it doesn't help that you end up calling Florida to get customer service
And they
with our
say, wait, you
current
don't have that
contract."
street in your village? It's like, yes, we do.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Have you had any interaction?
With them?
Yes.
Sure.
Can you, I'm just curious.
Oh, they have to look it up. They have no clue where we're at. They have no clue, and I don't know if state requirements vary from state to state as to recycling or community to community, and all of that. It just seems, it wasn't terrible, but it just kind of put me off when they tell me they're in Florida and put me on hold for a while to figure out where Cambridge is.
Well, and just on Facebook the other day, there was someone in an adjoining area complaining about their waste service too, that it was hit or miss. And they're not the same as what we have.
Yeah,
yeah. There's always issues. It's a
Yes.
matter of how,
sure.
And it's a matter of turnover.
and how diligent they
Yeah.
are in responding.
Yep.
Well, I don't, I try to patronize locally and use services locally as much as I can. And, I think we could do that too. On the other hand, I also know business, but I think the bottom line is to take in all the factors as you're looking at a contract.
And we do that, and one of the things that.
I'm
yeah,
sure you do,
we
but,
look at is just the amount of services that they offer. I know
Right.
the last time we went with this particular garbage refuge place is because they offered like mattresses and things like that. When we talked about that, it was, especially the people in town who don't have their own trucks, can't take them to Madison to the
Right.
recycling thing,
Right.
the elderly and all of that. They offered more services for the same
sure.
money.
And I think that's, in a community like ours,
That's
the
important.
distance we are to facilities and our demographics
Yep.
in the community, that's a very important, I think that's a very important plus in the current contract. I also realize that the 95 waste wheeler is from a predecessor to this. So I have no idea what they offered, and that wasn't a part, as far as I understand it, of the
And when
negotiations.
and this was back, and they did offer us, here you can have 70, 65 gallon carts. Well, that doesn't meet everybody
No.
that needed them at the time or wanted
Right.
them.
Right.
So it is
Right.
spelled out in this one, that there are
Okay.
the choices for the residents.
Good, and then I had someone else just say, I need a bigger one. I said, ask for another one, you can have two. 2 recycling bins. He goes, great, never knew that. I said, just call and ask them, be a small fee, and they can, because he says, I mostly have recycling and not garbage.
Well, that's the way it is in our
Right,
house.
right, so
Our
that, you
our
know,
recycle bin is almost full to the top, and sometimes I have to push
It
it
is
down
full after 2
on,
weeks.
on
Yep.
2 weeks, and,
Right.
and we're ones that we, very seldom do we have, unless I clean out my shop a little, my wood shop a little, but very seldom do we have anything more than a pig bag,
yeah.
Piggly Wiggly paper bag full of garbage in a week.
So anyway, I guess what I'm trying to say is we try to do the best for the
Right.
most amount of people.
I'm
when we
just
go
here to
through this.
advocate for the,
Yep.
for my neighbors,
Smaller.
especially, those that,
Yep,
And I
You
can
know.
add that to the RFP.
Yeah.
because they have the 95s across the street, and those are pretty big.
Okay. Well, thank you for coming.
Yep, thank you for
Thank you,
listening.
Mike.
to our
Michael.
Yep.
meeting here this evening and sharing your thoughts. Okay, moving on.
I'll make a
Yeah.
motion to submit the RFP to go out for bid with the addition of a 35-gallon garbage option as well.
a second.
I thought that it had already been sent out, but that,
No,
okay.
No.
All right. Okay,
I have a couple questions.
all right, for consideration, sure, we got a motion and a second. Go ahead.
Page 822,
18, you said?
8,
Okay,
page 822, first paragraph, second sentence. Each unit is provided one VOPN.
no, one unit, I'll check what that is.
Okay, thank you.
Um,
I just wasn't sure what
yeah.
that was. Great.
um,
I didn't know if it was some special term
No, it's not.
specifically
It's
for
one
garbage.
unit, one container probably. Yeah. I don't know how that got there. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, and then, in the proposal package, it talked about that it's calling out 626 units. Are we paying 626 regardless, or do we pay per month by how many they actually pick up?
We pay the same base rate every month. We have in the past asked for some credits when there have been big issues.
Because I noticed in here too, in the quote, it talks about a biannual review. So in January and July, we get to pick what that 626 number is?
What that 626 number is based on the number of units that that number was come up with by what we charge people on their tax bills. So single-family housing, duplexes are 2 units, fourplexes are 4.
Yep.
Small businesses that are included are counted as a unit. So that's where that number came from. So if we have new building added, it would be taken into account then.
So so each year, or twice a year, you review that number, and the number either goes up or down depending on what's happening within the community?
Yeah.
Okay. So we're paying also for vacant properties?
Yes. Because, for one, we can't keep track. I don't know if a house is vacant for 2 months, if somebody moved out before it's sold, or, we don't necessarily have that, but the service is available at that property.
Sure, and the taxes that are
Anytime they
paid,
move.
and
They
And you
move
do it
in.
based on homes, not lots? Because
Yes,
lots are
homes.
taxed as
Homes.
well? Okay, so homes,
Yep.
all right.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So then, just, so, and I noticed it's a 3-year or a 5-year, so we're letting them bid out for what they prefer. And then that twice-a-year adjustment protects them and protects us from that perspective. Okay. Okay, I think those were really my only main questions. Thank you.
All right. We have a motion and a second on this issue, correct? All right.
Yep.
All those in favor of sending out this bid proposal?
With the adjustment?
Yeah,
Yep.
with the adjustment for the solid waste and recycling collection services of the Village of Cambridge. Please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? Okay, looks like that passes. Okay, going into unfinished business. The Melster site, an agreement with Home Again. Lisa, you want to share any details on this?
We have talked about this in the past. We did send it over to At Home Again. They made a couple little changes. We had a change clarifying that we are responsible for anything, and they were fine with it. So it's back for final. Once this is signed, MSA does have somebody lined up, and he will then schedule the testing.
Okay. All
Hopefully
right.
there won't be snow on the ground.
So I'll make a motion to approve signing and entering the agreement with At Home Again for access.
Second.
Okay. We have a motion that's been made and seconded regarding the Melster site, the agreement with At Home Again. All those in favor of passing this proposal, please signify by saying aye.
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 Are there any opposed? Okay, that passes. Moving on, going to B here, which is, we're now going to go into closed
Let's
session.
just skip down and do the meeting announcements and stuff first. 'cause then
Correspondence
Gary
and news
can-
All right.
announcements.
I thought we'd come back and open,
Oh,
but,
Gary will be,
Gone.
oh,
On,
Gone.
yep.
okay.
so.
Do we have to change the, change
No,
this?
you can just
No, we
pop
can.
on and
Okay,
do that.
all right.
You have the power.
Okay, we'll go right into correspondence. We have none. All right. We do have some meetings coming up. August 14th is the library board. Water and sewer is going to be meeting on August 20th, and we will have another village board meeting on August 27th. Okay, questions and referrals to staff for future agenda items?
Lisa, did anyone come and take a look at the trees on West Main Street to see if they needed to be trimmed so that the sidewalk could be clear? And if it's not on the boulevard side, can we talk to the homeowners?
Okay, I will check with Wilbur to see if.
Thank you. Because while I'm short enough, my husband's not short enough to not get hit by some branches on the way to the Piggly Wiggly.
All right.
Thank you.
And do we have something on the agenda next time for CART?
It is at Mary Billings. She is drafting a draft lease for us to consider.
All right.
Okay. All right.
I'll make a motion.
Yep, go ahead.
I'll make a motion to convene into